We discussed support by Ireland financially to Ukraine. I explained that our commitments under the European Peace Facility had been frustrated by Hungary's decision to veto the deployment of the European Peace Facility Fund set up by the European Union. So we're looking at alternative approaches to give financial aid to Ukraine. And a number of ideas came up during the meeting. In particular, they have a comprehensive programme of feeding their children in schools, which is limited, and we've undertaken to support that initiative and we'll work with the Ukrainian officials in that regard. There's also, interestingly and unfortunately, in a time of terrible war, significant innovation underway, and they were explaining to us how they've developed robotic ground drones to evacuate their injured from the front line. And again, that is something, I think, that technology that we can support financially to enable them to bring back soldiers who are injured. And so we'll be looking at bilateral approaches and mechanisms, as well as working through coalitions. And the Taoiseach had brought a member to government last week in respect of that. So it was good today that we were able to look at concrete examples and illustrations by which we can fulfil our commitments to Ukraine through those kind of mechanisms. And those are two examples. There are others we can do as well in terms of the Food for Syria programme, whereby Ukrainian grain is now feeding and helping distressed Syrians, and of course Ukrainian farmers are benefiting from that, and that's something as well that Ireland can contribute to. We obviously discussed the European dimension to this, the visit of President Macron to Washington earlier in the week. We were briefed on that yesterday by President Macron, and obviously we'll all keep in close contact. Prime Minister Starmer is in Washington today, and suffice to say that the President Zelenskyy is very focused on the need for Europe to be centrally involved in the wider potential peace settlement that could unfold in the time ahead.
He's also on the way to Washington to discuss a plenary deal with Trump. What was his mood about the prospect of a peace deal, and one that won't lead them up to a further invasion by Russia? Does he think the US is genuinely on side?
I think that's the key point for President Zelenskyy, because we've been here before, and ceasefires on their own don't give you the longer term security. And of course, ceasefires are, particularly in such a big country as Ukraine, is notoriously difficult to monitor without there being a wider, comprehensive and durable settlement. So I think that's an issue. But I think we had a very warm meeting. I think he has a very clear focus. I think he's very clear in his own head in terms of where he wants to take this, and he wants to engage, obviously, with and particularly with President Trump. He values very much the support he has received from the United States, a very strong partner to Ukraine, and I think the engagement, the fact that he's visiting Washington, is good in itself. So from that perspective, I think he's looking forward to the meeting.
Did he ask any questions about the supports given to Ukrainian people here yesterday during the Dáil statements on Russia's invasion of Ukraine? Former Integration Minister Roderick O'Gorman said that the government needs to start planning now for what happens when the temporary and direct events. Did he ask any questions about that? Were you able to give him any insight on what might happen next year? And secondly, on the Dáil speech, where you were accused last night of sleeving politics, of being duplicitous, of not engaging with the opposition. What's your reaction to that?
No, he didn't raise issues, and in fact he was very grateful for the fact that Ireland has hosted so many Ukrainian families, and very appreciative of that. His focus was how can we help Ukraine in terms of supports that they need within Ukraine. He's very conscious of the non-lethal framework through which we provide support. Very conscious of that, very gracious, I thought, in terms of his requests. But they're very much focused, and he highlighted for us a number of key areas, particularly around drone technology to evacuate injured soldiers from the front line, the humanitarian assistance and food programs that we can support financially that they have in place in terms of Ukrainian school children and other areas like that. That was the main focus on that. If there's anyone else on Ukraine, I'll come back. Yeah. Again, he was very frank in terms of his main point there was they do not expect any partners to be involved in any war or any conflict situation like that. And everything will depend on how things unfold. And I made him aware that Ireland is open to helping in any way we possibly can, including in a peacekeeping role. But as he said, there's time for that yet, but he was appreciative of that. But obviously a lot will be determined by the nature of agreements if they happen, if a ceasefire happens, how it happens, the nature of it, the modality of it, and so on like that. So, but he's aware of our position on that, which he thinks is important.
Just go back to the temporary replacement directive. That's going to lapse at some stage. Has the government yet given any thought to what kind of system might prevail to allow those people at least some kind of stability in their living circumstances, or what might follow the current one?
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I mean, it may not change yet. I mean, there's some distance to go yet, but I mean, I think we've been fair to Ukrainians, families in Ireland. We will work with the ambassador here and with Ukrainian representatives. We don't want to do anything precipitatively. We're conscious that people have children and people are in school, children are in schools and so forth. There will be a further meeting of the Cabinet Subcommittee on migration more generally, but obviously that will deal also with the Ukrainian situation, which is more specific and separate at one level, but involves accommodation issues and so on. So there won't be any immediate sort of cliff edge, and that's important for people.
Taoiseach, sorry, just to follow up on that, on the accommodation recognition bill, which is coming to an end without any other decision being made, I think at the end of March. Where is the government landing on that in terms of that €800 a month to? Yeah,
the payment won't come to an end, but the government is reflecting on that at the moment. No final decision has been made in relation to it.
Is it likely that it is going to take?
I'm not going to comment until we have, in fairness, discussions with my colleagues in government and the minister. At the moment, the unit is moving from Department of Children to Department of Justice, and so look, we'll bring clarity to that before that deadline.
And Taoiseach, President Trump talks in terms of the war being solvable or peace being achieved in the short term. You're pledging more Irish support. Are you talking in a longer term with President Zelenskyy, or what's his mood on that?
Well, obviously, in the event of a settlement, which will take time. I mean, we had a very interesting presentation from President Macron yesterday. We ourselves are well versed in peace processes. If you take from, I was reflecting on this last evening, if you take from the Downing Street Declaration of 1994, move forward a number of years to the Good Friday Agreement. So, by definition, processes of this kind are done in phases and they take time. But in fairness to President Trump, and President Trump is a president who has said peace is his objective. He wants to end these terrible wars, and I think that's a very noble objective in itself. We have to work through the details, though, and that's where a lot of discussion is on now at the moment within Europe. And Europe, I think President Zelenskyy was appreciative again of the fact that Europe is now very clearly saying that it will be taking on more of the responsibility for security guarantees to Ukraine into the future and for deterrence into the future, which he appreciates, and the United Kingdom government has made that clear as well.
This is a very delicate meeting for President Zelenskyy in Washington, as it is for Keir Starmer or President Macron. For yourself, perhaps in the coming weeks as well, as President Trump threatens 25% tariffs on Europe. How are you feeling about that and that invitation that you're still awaiting, perhaps, to meet President Trump at the White House?
We'll take it step by step. As I said, I think the detail of every proposal is the key here. And Ireland's a small open economy. In our view, free trade has created a rise in prosperity over the last 30 or 40 years. It's unprecedented in world history. So, and it's our view, and the view of the European Union, that tariffs can damage economies, can cause an inflationary spiral, and can increase prices for consumers.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Our name is flight 135 to Boston. We'll commence boarding very shortly from gate number 108. We will board this aircraft strictly by seater number, so we kindly ask you to remain seated until your seater number has been called. At this time, I'd like to invite any passengers who are seated in rows 1 to 6 to please come forward now to the priority boarding lane at gate number 108. Also, passengers who are members of our air club, passengers requiring assistance, passengers travelling with young children are also invited to come forward at this time.
That was a very timely intervention.
Yes. Breaking news.
Fasten your seatbelt, Taoiseach, because are you still hoping for that invitation to Washington?
Look, we have a wonderful relationship with the United States. It's a historic one. It's a very important one to Irish people, to the Irish diaspora in the United States, over 30 million. And we have a very extensive footprint across the US, diplomatically, economically. And there are huge, the most recent statistics, Ireland is the 6th largest investor into the US, which is an extraordinary figure. But that's the level of Irish investment into the US, jobs we create in the US. So it's a very robust and important economic relationship, as well as culturally, socially, and family to family as well. So looking forward to going to Washington.
Is Donald Trump an ally of yours?
I think that Donald Trump is an ally of peace, and I think he is. I mean, look, yeah, he had a very good meeting with President. Yeah. Look, I'm not going to comment on every comment that gets articulated from time to time. I just noted the very warm engagement we had with President Macron early this week. He visited to see the splendours of Notre Dame. Vice President J.D. Vance was in Paris at the AI summit that President Macron hosted. I was there too. There's a lot of engagement going on, a lot of dialogue. People have different ways of approaching it, different methodologies and different approaches. Thank you very much indeed. Oh, sorry. Who has? I'll come back to it. Sorry.
Sorry, just catch one. Catch Kennedy, John Washington.
Thank you for waiting. Airlines 135 crossing. Now I'd like to invite passengers in rows 26 through to 34. Any passengers in rows 26 through to 34, please come forward.
An bhfuil chuine factfos a go ónústar an Trump a go láda project, as bhfuil any ní a go comméidir ná bhfuil chuine an bhagtas.
No, Neil, agus time ag súil go mimi well big me san stáidéanta agus gan áras tá na hifiigi ag daileáil le chéile agus degan an ní ein tú sais cuireadh formáilta ach beic sin le céile rú níos déanaí agus mar dúirt me henne is gcuil ríthachtacha an gcuile idir na stáidéantaithe agus ar dír go háire ó heh cuasaí eachnaíochta de cuasaí Gallagher tá anna cuid in istíocht a gulasteach sna stáidéanta inis ó éannig mar hampla tá sa Airport fi láthair deirtar gur bhfuil Ryanair ceann is na cholachtaí ceníon Etaline ó Boeing fud an dom ceann is so sin léiríonn se sin an méid ceangilt agus an inistíocht ag dolisteach sna stáidéanta ón dír sin.
Thank you for waiting. Airlines 135 to Boston.
Sorry about this. We wanted to keep you in from the cold, you know.
Any passengers in rows 15 to 34, please.
So, well, time dóchasach go bhfuil sean saon agus is léir domsa an mionatáig uachtar an Trump ná an rud is táchtaí ar fad ná cogaigh den taise a stoppa agus ná a bhí sé mar uachtar an ar dús sin an tora bhíon ní raibh mar an cogaigh an na linge tréise an céadúir agus sin an mionatá ge agus ach tá annach cuid le déanamh gan dáir. Well, I'm talking about Guinness. Sorry, yeah.
Just as what impact would it have on Irish relations?
Can you hold a second? Your hand up first, and I'll come back to it then. Yeah.
Taoiseach, you talked about giving and I'm sure Shannon Airport is going to play a big role in that because you're here today. Do you think Shannon Airport and yourself are in a position to talk about funding for aid to Gaza as well?
But we have been doing that. We've sent very significant amounts of aid to Gaza, to the Middle East more generally, through UNRWA, where we have again allocated a further 20 million to UNRWA. Only the Taoiseach announced that last month. So I think, and we will continue to do that, and we're pushing for a massive surge of humanitarian assistance to go to Gaza. And if we can get to phase 2 of the ceasefire, get that consolidated, the next big effort will be reconstruction of Gaza. And that will require a lot of support as well from the Arab partners in the region, and also from Europe and from Ireland, and we will continue to do that. Sorry?
If you do not get that invite to the White House for St. Patrick's Day, in your own view, what kind of impact will that have on Ireland and US relations?
Thank you for waiting. Early this 135. Now I'd like to invite our main
Who is that guy? Yeah, he's very good. He's very helpful. Look, I tell you, we're taking this step by step. We're under, as far as we're concerned, we're looking forward to our visit to the United States. That's it. Just, yeah.
Very briefly, Peter.
You're fine. Yeah. Yours.
There seems to be a lot of momentum now for this peace to happen. Did President Zelenskyy mention at all what he believes and his concerns or hopes are for the other side, for Russia? Did he say to you, this is all happening, it seems to have taken Europe and the US, it's all moving forward, but did he register any concerns about what participation or involvement might be on the other side?
No, I think his main focus in our discussion was on that this just can't be a ceasefire on its own. There has to be a broader context to it. It's got to be sustainable, it's got to be durable, it's got to have security guarantees, and he accepted that Europe has already articulated that Europe's going to take a stronger responsibility in providing those security guarantees, as is the United Kingdom. And he also saw EU membership as key to the situation post the war, and that if we could, and he knows Ireland supports this, that an accelerated timeline for Ukrainian membership is important to Ukraine in a post-conflict situation, because that in itself, it's our belief too, would give certain security to Ukraine into the future. In other words, people don't want a repeat of what happened in the past with the Minsk Accords, or with, there was this cannot be allowed to develop into a frozen conflict with continual issues around the border and territory and so on. It has to be a comprehensive settlement. Obviously, such settlements begin with ceasefires, confidence-building measures, and then evolve into more durable and sustainable peace settlements. And that is the objective of all involved.
On Northern Ireland, just on your council meeting,
yeah.
Can you explain to us how these intermediaries are going to work with the paramilitaries, and does it not just run the risk of legitimising these organisations and having them hang around for long?
No, I think this is part of the working out of the Good Friday Agreement, and this was recommended by the Commission. And I'm glad that the UK government and the Irish government have been in a position to agree this. I think dialogue is important in terms of, and I've met with the Loyalist Community Council in the past, and there is a sense in certain communities that the Good Friday Agreement, that they have not enjoyed the dividends of the Good Friday Agreement. Whether that is true or not, the perception is there. So I think the focus will be on communities and helping in terms of supporting the communities, not any individuals or organisations, but ensuring that all communities in Northern Ireland benefit from the peace and from the Good Friday Agreement. The Shared Island Unit, and we allocated 57 million in decisions this Tuesday. I was really regretted I couldn't be in the north today because of this meeting, but I will get back again. But very exciting announcements around tourism trails, particularly around the border areas, using the Quilca Geopark, and also in terms of various green trails and so on, and greenways. So it's very exciting. Carlingford as well, a tourism package there to complement and support what's happening with Narrow Water Bridge. So the Shared Island funding is really having impact on the ground, creating connectivity, and the Dublin Economic Corridor, which I addressed via video today, is another example of what's happening, and that's the real practical stuff. And if we can help in more marginalised communities who feel they haven't been part of the dividend, I think that could be a positive. But it's early days and we have to work it out. Yeah, just simply on that, look, I think the reaction has been very disproportionate. I think the
final protocol for Aer Lingus 135 to Boston. With the last remaining passengers attempting travel, please go immediately now to gate number 108. That's final call for Aer Lingus 135 to Boston. Last remaining passengers, please go immediately now to gate number 8.
I mean, we're looking at an extra 8 minutes on Wednesday, an extra 8 minutes on Thursday. No one in opposition loses any time at all. Some TDs who this will help might be lucky to get a once-in-a-year shot at asking the Taoiseach of the Day a question. I think the whole thing, there's been an overreaction. I think it's entirely disproportionate to what is actually being proposed. I've always said in the midst of all the noise that there are some fundamental principles here. I don't get to decide who associates in the Dáil. I can't decide whether a group of independents should form a group or not, or whether they shouldn't. De facto they have. Some in that group have already voted against government, by the way, 2 of them, on a number of occasions. Historically in the past, opposition members have facilitated the formation of government, have voted for governments, and there was never any sense that they would lose whatever entitlements or rights that they have. And the confidence and supply agreement, for example, involved the main opposition party at the time actually negotiating the programme for government and influencing that and every single budget of that government. And no one said at the time, well, they shouldn't have the same rights in terms of leaders' questions. I just think we need to get on with more substantive issues. The geopolitical world is in turmoil, it's in a lot of challenges. We have big economic challenges potentially on the horizon. We have big infrastructure issues in Ireland to sort out. We have the housing issue and so on. Those are the bread and butter issues, I think, that matter to people. Thank you very much.